from Rep. Pramila Jayapal. Trump's Department of Energy made up a report on climate change, and it's full of lies. Their real objective, continuing to sell out our environment, air and water to big oil billionaires. We're fighting back. So this is from NPR.org. Let's see what they have to say about this. Dozens of scientists. Oh my God, so many dozens of scientists. They found errors in a new Energy Department climate report. I'd be really curious to know where they graduated from, how recent they graduated, because I bet they're all a bunch of far left-wing climate scientists / activists. A group of more than 85 scientists have issued a joint rebuttal. Really? Let's see what that says. Climate experts review of the DOE Climate Working Group report, July 29, 2025. Let's see. Key assertions, claims of no trends in extreme weather, and so on. Basically, it's saying, well, we don't believe it. I'll link this if you want to check that out. Let's see. To a recent U.S. Department of Energy report about climate change, finding it full of errors and misrepresenting climate science. So the report that they're talking about that's full of errors, that's this one, which I'll link it. It's energy.gov/topic/climate. According to these scientists, this article here is completely and utterly full of shit, which I somehow doubt. I bet it's filled with facts and logic and common sense. But if they're not sounding the alarm on climate change, they're not going to get billions of dollars worth of funding, and their jobs are going to be in jeopardy. So anyway, this comes weeks after the Union of Concerned Scientists and the Environmental Defense Fund filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration that alleges that Energy Secretary Chris Wright quietly arranged for 5 hand-picked skeptics of the effects of climate change to compile the government's climate report and violated the law by creating the report in secret with authors of only one point of view. The deal, well, dude, y'all only have one point of view too. The world is getting hotter. The ocean levels are rising. The end. I mean, that's their point of view. They don't have any other point of view besides that. The DOE's climate working group consisted of 4 scientists and 1 economist who have all questioned the scientific consensus that climate change is a large threat to the world and sometimes frame global warming as beneficial. Well, it is actually beneficial because as far as the latitudes go, it allows for plant growth to encroach further and further north as the permafrost line continues to encroach more northward as the Earth gets warmer. So arguably that opens up more trees to grow, more plants to grow, possibly more crops to grow. So it's not entirely a bad thing. I mean, global warming. You know, the Earth's average temperature was 78 degrees Fahrenheit during the time of the dinosaurs, which is probably what allowed dinosaurs to get so huge because there was also a high oxygen content in the atmosphere as well. I don't remember the exact number. It was like 35% oxygen in the atmosphere, which allowed them to grow to absurd sizes. But dude, like the Earth's average temperature right now is 59 degrees. Averaged out globally, 59. During the time of the dinosaurs, 78 degrees. So global warming, it ain't gonna turn us into Venus. That's fucking retarded. So anyway, a group of climate scientists found several examples where the DOE authors cherry-picked or misrepresented climate science in the agency's report. For instance, in the DOE report, the authors claim that rising carbon dioxide can be a net benefit to U.S. agriculture, neglecting to mention the negative impacts of more heat and climate change-fueled extreme weather events on crops. So, last I checked, trees and leaves and photosynthesis and all that, it involves trees and plants to capture carbon from the atmosphere, which converts into wood. That's what wood is made of. 50% of wood on tree trunks, branches, sticks, twigs, it's made of carbon. From carbon that was pulled from the atmosphere thanks to trees, because trees act as our atmosphere's lungs, just like the oceans do as well. The oceans absorb a shitload of carbon. So I kind of push back against that a bit because trees love carbon dioxide. It's plant food, dude. Carbon dioxide is plant food. And let's see, rising carbon dioxide and net benefit, neglecting to mention the negative impacts or heat and climate change. Oh yeah, extreme weather. Yeah, it's also argued from what I've read from climatologists that as the Earth warms, the ability for hurricanes to develop are diminished because as the Earth warms up, it produces higher amounts of widespread wind shear. And if you know anything about the development of hurricanes, wind shear is the death pill for hurricanes. It's fast-moving winds in the upper atmosphere. So if a hurricane encounters wind shear in the atmosphere, it blows the hurricane apart. And as the Earth warms up, the upper level atmosphere wind speeds increase and become more volatile, which hinders the ability for hurricanes to develop. Doesn't make them stronger. It actually hinders their ability to form at all. Not to say hurricanes won't form if the Earth's average temperature reaches like 65 or 70 degrees. We probably would still get hurricanes here and there, but it wouldn't be anywhere on the level that they're trying to claim. We're going to get Cat 7 hurricanes. We're going to get Cat 23 hurricanes. It's going to be pandemonium. It's going to be absolutely insane. No, not really. All right, so anyway, the DOE report also states that there is no evidence of more intense meteorological drought in the U.S. or globally, referring to droughts that involve low rainfall. I mean, look, there's droughts happening all the time. Most of it's very localized, such as in southeastern Florida right now, we're going through a drought, and it's at the point where some of the Everglades caught on fire just a week ago, and there were videos circulating on X to that effect, showing tons of smoke pouring out of the Everglades because there was a brush fire that had burned up. I don't remember how many acres it was, like 1,000 acres or something like that, which is kind of mind-boggling. Being the Everglades, there's not really anywhere to walk. It's just water. But yeah, I mean, it happens. It even happens here in Florida, and we're in the middle of the rainy season, so Miami must not be getting much rain at all this year. However, if you look at last year, or maybe looking forward to next year, once it plays out, they could have a rapid increase of rainfall, which tends to happen at least here in Florida. If we have a dry, rainy season, usually the next year, it's usually evens out with whether if we get more rain or if we get nailed with a hurricane or a couple tropical storms or whatnot. And that could be all that Miami needs. If Miami ends up with a tropical storm in the next couple of weeks, it could dump 2 feet of rain on them, and there you go. The DOE report also states that there is no evidence of more intense meteorology. Okay, I already read that. So not just low rainfall, it could lead to and exacerbate droughts. They say that there are, in fact, many studies showing how climate change has exacerbated droughts. Quote, this report was reviewed internally by a group of DOE scientific researchers and policy experts from the Office of Science and National Labs, writes Ben Dietrich, the chief spokesperson for the DOE, in an email to NPR. Dietrich added that the Trump administration is committed to engaging in a more thoughtful and science-based conversation about climate change and energy. Well, the problem is that a lot of these scientists, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear this argument or that argument. It's just like, my belief is the bottom line. That's the way it is, and we're just going to stick to it. Because there's a lot of money in climate change, a lot of government grants, a lot of government tax money in general that's being dumped into climate change. It's absolutely crazy, and they want to keep that train rolling. They love that gravy train. The Trump administration wants the government to stop regulating climate pollution. The DOE report was cited multiple times by the Environmental Protection Agency in its recent proposal to roll back what's known as the endangerment finding, which is the basis for rules regulating climate pollution, including from coal and gas-fired power plants, cars and trucks, and methane from oil and gas industry. I mean, look, they make it sound like that we're going to turn the U.S. into fucking China when we're not. There's already pretty decent regulations that they're not even planning on rolling back with regard to coal production, coal power plants. They've already got scrubbers in place. They've got these filters that are already in place. It's not like you're going to see like big giant plumes of black smoke just constantly pouring up into the atmosphere, which is what they want you to believe. But no, that's not happening. What they're really want, I don't know about the Department of Energy, but I know the EPA, they're considering rolling back regulations as far as the fuel efficiency with vehicles and also emission standards on new motor vehicles, which they have got to do. The requirement by the federal government, your average light pickup truck must get over 40 miles a gallon. And I'm no expert on pickup trucks, but I assume that includes the Ford F-150, probably the Ford F-250, probably just your Chevy Silverado, and anything else, like just your average pickup truck. It's got to get 40 miles to the gallon, which is insane. So if you wonder where those V8 engines went, that's where they went. That's why they're building these shitty 6-cylinder twin turbo engines that nobody wants, because of the EPA and these stupid standards that they set. So hopefully they're going to roll those back, and we'll finally get not only V8 engines back, but we'll get reliable vehicles once again, because these new cars they're building are just garbage.